Hello, everyone, and welcome to this interview where we'll talk about finding meaning and living a more fulfilled life and how we can do this through adversities. If it's your first time here, my name is Spiros, and I help people to overcome the anxiety and frustration of day-to-day life so they step closer to their well-being and start living a more meaningful life. I'm also taking interviews from inspiring people that have a strong message to the rest of us. And today, this person is Monika Kozlowska. And Monika is international fulfillment business coach and NLP practitioner. And she helps women to find the courage to start living the life they love. I I didn't know much about Monica before I read a post from her where she said that she's cancer free and that cancer can help us to realize what is important for us. And I didn't needed anything else to be intrigued, so I asked her for an interview. And so yeah, welcome Monica, and thank you for being here. And great news being cancer free.
Thank you. That is such a nice introduction. Thank you for having me, and thank you for considering me as, an inspiring person. Yeah, no, your message really meant a lot to me, and yeah, because as you said, we had not really interacted much before, and it's just nice to know that, it's nice to know that you saw the post and you actually found the courage to message and ask for this interview. It really means a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. I think it's best to start with your story, and because I don't really like to just read your bio myself, I think you are the best person to tell us about you. So would you like to share with us your story?
Yeah, sure, of course. So, well, in short, I got 4 years ago, I was living a perfect life on paper, but I was really unhappy, and I didn't understand why, and it felt really weird because I had so much more than a lot of other people, and at the same time I was really, really unhappy. And to cut it short, I decided to discover why that was, and that's kind of what led me into personal development and coaching, because I realized that there is not one recipe to fulfillment that we all like to follow, and I decided to commit my life to finding out what's actually important in terms of creating a fulfilled life, and I just got really hooked. And I did my coaching qualification, I built up NLP on top of it, and in the meantime I created my coaching business, and I realized that a lot of coaches started also coming to me, asking if I could help them build their businesses as well. And so my narrative around it is that, if part of what fulfillment means to you is consists of having a successful business, then I could help you as well. And I think the last thing that's really important is that I'm also a cancer survivor, just as you said. So beginning of this year, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and that was a huge wake-up call, I think. And and as I said, it really helped me look at life differently and what's important. And I'm excited to share more about it, because I think this part of my story is definitely worth sharing.
Yeah. And we will have the chance to talk about your cancer story in a moment. But before, I want to ask you, what does fulfillment mean to you?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and it's funny because when I remember the day when I decided to go out there as a fulfillment coach, and I thought, bloody hell, this is like, some people don't even know what that means. Like, it's a fancy word, but what is it? And the truth is that, fulfillment means something else to me, and probably means something else to you. It's very subjective. Well, the meaning depends on the person, really. And that is the funny thing, that we're told that certain things are going to make us fulfilled, but at the same time, in a way, on paper, we know that it actually means something else to everyone. So how come there's one recipe for it? But I thought a lot about it, and I think for me, fulfillment is the state of being clear on who you are, meaning being clear on the beliefs that you have about yourself and work, being clear on your strengths, and being clear on your values. So having this clarity around who you are, whilst being happy with and grateful for what you've got right now, while pursuing goals that are important to you. So it's a long definition, but I do truly wholeheartedly believe in that. And that is what fulfillment means to me.
Yeah, and to me it makes sense what you said. To be clear on on our values and who we are, and to set goals and to progress on that path, and to what kind of person we want to be on moment to moment, on day to day. So it makes sense, your answer. My next question is, because we are also talking about cancer here, so I'm just wondering, how fulfilled were you before you find out you had cancer?
So I was actually very fulfilled, but cancer really did change me. So I think it was, it was January, end of January this year. So I started my coaching journey over 3 years ago. So I really changed a lot about my mindset and myself as well. And I became really, really aware of, the bit about myself, being clear on who I am, and also what I wanted my life to look like. And I did know that gratitude is very, very important, because I do think what you said about, what person you want to be day to day, I think what's really important is not just to set goals, but to enjoy the journey, because, what if we never get where we're going, and all of a sudden our life ends and we never appreciated what we had in between on the journey? So I would say, well, all the work that I've done across the years definitely helped me to have the outlook on my cancer journey the way I looked at it, basically. But so to answer your question, I would probably say I was, I guess, 8 out of 10 fulfilled. And what changed is with cancer, I realized that I might not have as much time on the earth as I thought I will, and obviously I'm cancer free. The cancer might always come back. I'm like, well, I may as well die tomorrow because I get hit by a bus. That's irrelevant. I think we all know that somewhere on paper, but we don't really act like this. And I think for me, just being told that, well, you do have cancer, Monika, I really needed to hear that, because I realized that even though I was clear on what I wanted my life to look like, I was still focusing so much on certain things, not on every single goal that's in a way like important to me. Let's take my personal life and like my dating life, for example. I would always choose my business and my career. And I love what I do. I would always choose that over my love life, because I was like, well, I would get to that. I will have this family eventually. And then the cancer thing, I think, the cancer diagnosis happened, and I was like, oh shit. Whoa, well, what if I don't? And the truth to be told, even though I love helping people change their lives for the better, and it's really energizing for me, it's really rewarding, I truly believe that's what I'm here to do, I realized that I really want this family. I really want to actually have a loving relationship. And that means making choices to, we'll explore that, make time for dating and not just on other things that are really important to me. But it was a huge thing for me, and that's what I did. I remember when I had my surgery, and then I had 2 weeks recovery, and I decided to take a week off from coaching that's when I signed up for like on a dating app. And yeah, and it's like, you know, it's a small thing, and some people like just, you know, it might not mean that much, but it meant a lot to me. And I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy that I became aware of it, because my priorities changed. And I really needed that, because I realized it's so much easier to you know, it was so much easier for me to focus on my business and my career, and you know, and I guess it wasn't that easy when it comes to my personal life. And I liked to believe that I could do it one day. And I think that's what the cancer diagnosis just told me, that one day might never come. Like, the time really is now. And yeah, and I'm really grateful for that, because my life really has changed for the better. And now I would genuinely consider myself 10 out of 10 fulfilled, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy when you hear this from people, because, you know, I've heard it from other people as well, that, you know, when, you know, cancer has made them see the life totally different. And as you said, I think it's because when we are faced with death, I mean, we all know that, you know, at some point we will die, but we don't really experience it in everyday life. So we kind of forgot about this. But when we are facing death, it seems to me that we realize how limited is our time here, and then suddenly it becomes much more important. And things that were really important for us, they still are important, but we realize there are other areas in our life, like, as you said, you know, like the family aspect.
Yeah.
And
That is so.
Go on.
And you know, when, like, I also thought, because I did think, you know, it makes you think about death, whether you want it or not. If somebody tells you you've got cancer, that's just what you think about. And you know, I asked myself this question, like, what do I want to be remembered for? And then I thought, well, you know, I was there for so many people, and that's amazing. But at the same time, do I want to be remembered just as a great coach who helped other people create more fulfilled lives? Not necessarily. That is not, I wanted more. And I realized that, and it was a good realization to have, and I would have never thought of it otherwise if I wasn't told that I've got cancer. And yeah, I realized that I do want to be remembered as a mom as well, and I know that that's not something that happens overnight, so that, you know, takes time as well. And I just, and I'm really grateful for that, because it's just, yeah, as I said, my priorities changed, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what fulfillment is, right? I mean, to be fulfilled in all areas in your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I really like what you just said, you know, this question, you know, how do I want to be remembered for? And that's also a great coaching question. When I ask my clients that, you know, there is a shift in how they think, because in our, as we said, you know, in our everyday life, we don't really see things from our deathbed back and see how our life we want to be. We just say, okay, we are in our comfort zone here. We are okay. We are happy. Let's continue with the same thing. But when something like cancer or some other, you know, big disaster happens in our life, or adversity, then we realize that, you know, other things are important, and we should approach them now instead of just waiting for some day to come. Because as you said, you know, family takes time. It's not something you can go to the supermarket and buy it. You know, having a baby takes like 9 months, and before that and after, it's just a big thing, and everything takes time. But now that we talked about cancer, I'm just wondering what happened inside your head the first time that you heard that you had cancer.
So when I found out that I had cancer, I went, it was at the Cromwell Hospital in London, and I went to the bathroom and I sat down on the floor and I realized that I don't know how I'm going to tell my mum, and because that's the phone call that no child, I don't think, ever actually wants to make. And I don't know, it's just, I was really scared that I was not going to have enough time to do everything that I've always wanted to do. And then I sat there for like 15 minutes and then eventually I called my mom and I tried to be as positive as I possibly could, because I knew I couldn't do it otherwise. But yeah, I was really scared. I was really scared because I realized that, even though I loved my life so much, that wasn't it. Like there was so much more that I wanted to do, and I was just scared that it might be it. And it was trying to find this balance with, if worse comes to worse and this is it, then that's okay, because actually it's not the life that you hate. You build the life that you really, really, truly love, and then so the balance of being okay with that, and also looking at the positives and like knowing that chances are that I am going to be okay, and then promising myself that if that's the case, then I really am going to focus on things that I haven't focused on yet. So yeah.
Could you? I'm just interested. Could you describe us what was your scariest and darkest moment?
It was when I realized that I didn't I'm connected with so many people, and I do have a lot of friends, but I remember I would like get home, like it's dark day in January in London, and then you get home and you realize it's just you. And I think I felt really, there were moments when I felt really very much alone in the whole situation, and it was finding this courage to kind of show up for myself in the morning, and also for other people as well, because I work with other people all the time. And I think it took a lot for me, because that was probably the hardest, just and that's connected weirdly with the fact what I realized I didn't have, how I didn't spend any time building like a relationship or a family, because I realized it would have been so much easier if I had this support network. And I found it within my friends, and it was there, but like there were moments when I was just alone in my flat, and my family lives abroad, and it was just me. And and it was hard. But it's I think the mindset work that I did across the years, like it really helped, like, because otherwise I don't know what, like it would have been really hard. So and it was also this because I think as much as I tried to be okay on those days when I just felt really lonely in the whole situation, it was those conversations, those snippets of conversations that I had with my doctors around how cancer actually might impact my fertility and the ability to have what I realized I haven't had and so much wanted to have. And I think those were the moments where I was like, well, fuck. Like, it's just, what if, even though, what if I'm going to be okay, but I'm not ever going to be able to have what I really, really want so much. And then, but then, then I would kind of coach myself out of it, thinking, okay, well, well, you can create family in so many different ways. It's not necessarily the end. So that helped.
Nice. Well, I wanted to ask you actually what has helped you through the journey, and you already answered that.
Yeah, it was. Sorry. Yes, I think it's also gratitude. What I said in my definition of fulfillment, like it's all it's good to make sure that you're happy and grateful for what you've got now. And I realized that I probably hadn't practiced it as much until I got cancer, and it really, really helped me out. And I think, I'm sure that a part of why I'm just so happy right now is because I practice this gratitude pretty much every day. Because I have the best mom in the entire world, even though she's not necessarily based right next to me, but she talks to me every day, and some, you know, there's great support. I have the most incredible friends as well, and that's, yeah, it really meant a lot. Even, yeah, it's crazy how much support I got, and when I actually sat down and recognized that I have so much to be grateful for, and it's amazing, and it's so much more than a lot of other people have, I'm sure, because yeah, and it really helped me out. And it's, yeah, it's, I think it's really easy to, we like to focus on what we don't have instead of what we do have. And well, you know, I'm studying positive psychology right now, and it's pretty much what it is. Like, you know, our minds are designed to just like focus on you know, what's missing. Oh my God, what's not working instead of what's actually working. And there was a lot that was working throughout my cancer journey, which is the support that I would get. You know, after my surgery, my friend would genuinely come to, like, she wouldn't go to sleep without like knocking on my door and being like, hey, just checking how you're feeling. Do you need anything? My, you know, my best friend cooked like a home cook, brought me home cooked soup, and like sat with me in this hospital for the whole time. And you know, those are the things that, no, like, they didn't have to do. I never asked them to do that. Yeah. They just did it themselves. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is so much to be grateful for. And that, you know, that didn't go away the moment I found out that I'm cancer free. It's still here, and it's a really good reminder. It's really good to know, especially on days when, you know, we all have days when we feel a bit crap. So it's just nice to remember what we have to be grateful for, and that definitely helped me out.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, it feels to me that, you know, gratitude connect us with the present moment, because you don't need anything to be grateful. I mean, even a walk in the park and smelling the flowers, I don't know, watching the butterflies, you know, we can be grateful for that, but we don't really appreciate these things in our everyday life. I mean, I remember before the lockdown, when I had to go somewhere, I was just rushing through the park, not really being there, you know,
yeah,
seeing the trees and the birds and everything. So
that is so true. Wait, you said, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No,
but
go
you said
on.
something really important. You said, you know, just being there. And what the big thing that I realized is that before cancer, I was all about doing, like so much about doing instead of being. And now I'm really finding this balance between being and doing, and actually I kind of want to be more than just do. And it's a beautiful place to be in. So yeah, so thank you for mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, doing and being, just to me, it's like you mentioned actually before, you know, now we are more about external stuff. It's about doing, you know, but it seems to me that we are lacking something inside, like, as you said, like being more. And well, I wanted to ask you, because I watched some of your videos, and one of your latest videos, you said, you know, I should be happy. And, you know, the emphasis is on should, because I have a lot. And it seems to me that, you know, the modern way we live in these societies, in this Western kind of world, you know, has affected us a lot. So how do you think this modern way of living affect us in our everyday life?
Yeah, it's I'm really glad that you picked up on that. It's true. I actually do get a lot of people reaching out to me saying exactly that, saying, well, I don't know why I'm not happy. I don't know why I'm not fulfilled, because you know, I've got so much. And that is precisely how I felt, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. I think, you know, nobody tells you at school, you know, get clear on who you are. And, you know, what we hear is that, you know, you're supposed to have a good job. You're supposed to, you know, like go up the career ladder. You are supposed to have a partner and be able to go on fancy holidays. It's the sign of making it is when you don't have to check your bank account within the whole month, then because you can just afford anything, and that's in a way what we build this idea that this is what's supposed to make us happy, and the truth is that it's not necessarily that, because the reason why I do what I do now is because I ticked everything off the list, and there was all of a sudden nothing else I could think of at the time that was supposed to make me happy. And I was like, oh, Jesus, I've never been more unhappy. And I think I think there's a lot of people there who had a lot of great things, like on paper, their lives look almost perfect. And I think when they catch themselves saying that, oh, I should be happy, then something isn't working. And I think what it comes down to is that, truth to be told, as I said, there's no one recipe that works for everyone. A big house with a swimming pool is not going to make every single person equally happy. And it's good to remember that, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the things that we have right now, but chances are they're just not designed for us. It's very subjective what we need. Like, we all have different values and different strengths, and different things are important to us. And somebody who values freedom is going to be living completely different lives as somebody who values security the most. And there's no right or wrong. It's just the way it is. And I think it's about giving ourselves permission that it's okay to admit that actually, despite everything that I've got right now, I'm not 10 out of 10 fulfilled. But and once we do that, we can figure out what it is that's not working, and get to the stage where we don't have to tell ourselves that we should be happy with what we've got. We are just happy. And I do. Well, I mean, going back to your question, I like to obviously talk about things that are not related to what you asked me about.
Well, everything is kind of connected, it seems to me.
So it's we are like everywhere. I think from media, you just get all those little pieces of information in terms of what is supposed to make us happy, and you have to like go to Maldives, and that is an indication that you can afford that, you can go there, that is supposed to make you happy. You do that, and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's a nice place, but like actually nothing really changed. And because it really does come down to learning more about who you are and what's important to you, and that it does take some work. You can't learn it at school. Nobody is necessarily going to tell you, well, this is who you are. Like, you discover it yourself, and then once you know that, it's so much easier to create your life the way that is actually going to make you happy.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I grew up in Greece, and in Greece, the mentality is that you finish school, you go to the university, you get married, you have 2 kids, 1 car, 1 house, and then you are, you check all the boxes. Yeah. And to be honest, it's quite hard to be clear on who you are when you have all these kind of pressures from your, the school, parents, the society. To me, a lot of things changed when I moved to Denmark, when I realized that the basic assumptions are totally different. Because in Greece, in Denmark, it's nothing like that. And then I started realizing that, it's not for everyone like this. So, although it's very important to be clear on who we want to be, it just feels to me sometimes it's very hard for some people who live under some conditions to realize this. Now on a kind of different topic, because we are humans, we have our ups and we have our downs, and obviously you seem very happy and smiling and very, very, I don't know how to express it, very joyful person.
Thank you.
But I'm guessing you also have your downs, and do you ever feel unmotivated, perhaps, I don't know, sad? And if you do, what do you do? Or what do you say to yourself to go on,
Yeah,
or to change it?
I do. Yes, I'd like to consider myself a positive person. It's true. I'm noticing that, but I do have days that are not great, and I don't feel great. I don't feel great about myself. I don't feel great about everything that happened today, and I think it is all part of the journey, and I think I would say, yeah, it's all part of the process, and we all, I think, have setbacks, and we all have those days when things are not going the way that we want them to be going. And I think what really helps is, I would say I give myself permission to be just kind to myself, and it's really important to me, because I used to be really good at just beating myself up for not accomplishing what I wanted to do. Oh, I was so good at that. and I think it's all about the relationship that you have with yourself. And I think I learned across the years, especially those of the cancer, definitely helped. I realized that in order for everything to be working, it definitely helps when I'm kind to myself, and I give myself permission to actually have those days. And it helps, because then next day, instead of just beating myself up and going and buying a jar of Nutella and eating a jar of Nutella on top of it, just so I can then feel even worse about myself, it's, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, actually, I did not do what I wanted to do, but that's okay. I can do it tomorrow or a day after. I think it's about the acceptance that bad days when we feel unmotivated, it's all part of the journey, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to create and achieve whatever I'm working towards if I have a bad day or a bad week or whatever. It's just remembering that it's not always all roses and unicorns and everything is amazing. I think it's really important to know that having a bad day or week or a month doesn't mean that your life is over and you suck. Definitely not. So, and when you give yourself permission to do that, and you're just being kind to yourself. I'm not saying using it as an excuse all the time to not do anything. I think there's a balance between that. But yeah, I find that I actually get back on track quicker when I'm kind to myself, and I give myself permission to just have a day off like that, and just spend the day watching Netflix. And because the next day I genuinely am somehow more motivated. I'm like, okay, well, that was fun. Didn't really do much what I wanted to do, but now I have this energy, and clearly my body just needed that. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, as you put it, because we need both aspects. We need the positive but also the negative. And I really like what you said about accepting this other aspect. And it's not about, I'm guessing that's what you mean, it's not about passively accepting the situation. Oh
yeah.
my God, what happened to me? It's more like allowing this to exist, and not like to okay, go away, I don't really want to feel like that, I have to be productive today, I have to do that and that and that. Because then it's not about being, as you said before, being and doing. Okay, nice. We are going towards the end of the interview, but I want to ask more specifically, because in your bio you said you help women who are sick and tired of ticking the boxes to help to find the courage to create a life they love. And I'm just wondering how does your journey so far, and perhaps also through cancer, help and inspire other people, and particularly women, to do that?
Yeah, right. Thank you. So I mean, it's what you said about your upbringing in Greece. It's almost what it is. I think I realized that across the last couple of years, that's I've been connecting with those women, I would coach those women, and I was one of those women as well. Like, you know, I believed that there were certain things that were supposed to make me happy, and I would just tick them off the list, and then eventually there was nothing to tick anymore, and I was very unhappy. And so that's when I realized something needed to change. And I did think that, you know, when you live your life like this, you live your life by the book, and you know, you do what is supposed to be right. It does take being able to find the courage to change that, because, you know, it's not that you're going to tell yourself, well, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to be going wild and not ticking any boxes. Like, you know, how do you find the courage to do something else? And what is that other thing? And I realized that there is a lot of women out there who live their lives like this, and they deserve better, and they, you know, and I just love supporting them in terms of finding the courage to actually break that cycle and figure out what would make them happy, and how to create that life. And as I said, I used to be one of them. I used to just tick the boxes without thinking much of whether or not that was for me or not. And then eventually there was nothing else to take, and I was very unhappy. And it only changed when I actually did the internal work, and I found the courage to create the life that I wanted to have. And I think there's a lot of people out there who could benefit from that.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's funny, because sometimes we believe that we need something big to start changing our life. And, you know, to be honest with you, sometimes I secretly wish I had cancer as a wake-up call. But we don't have to go to these extremes to realize that we can have a meaningful and fulfilled life now. So
Yeah.
what could you tell to people how to start having a more fulfilled life right now? Not in a year or 10 years or tomorrow, but right now.
I would say, you know, focus on this part around who you are. And, you know, that might sound a little bit woo-woo, but it's true. Like, you know, find out what you value. Take some time to spend on yourself, because I think a lot of us actually think that would be a waste of time, because we're constantly in this doing mode, that taking time to actually explore ourselves it might seem unnecessary, but also probably a little scary, because, you know, what if I've been living in this world for 45 years and then all of a sudden I find out that I actually am somebody that I didn't think I was? That's scary.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are also benefits to it, because I do think that awareness is the first step to change. And, you know, even if you find out that your main, like, just, you know, values test. And I would say, you know, even if you find out that you value freedom, and then you look at your life and you realize that you are, you know, being micromanaged at work, every single holiday you go for is scheduled every day, you know what you're going to be doing, and your partner likes to make all the decisions for you, well, and you all of a sudden feel like you wouldn't consider yourself 10 out of 10 fulfilled, and chances are it's because there's not much freedom. But how would you know that if you didn't do the test and you didn't realize that that's what it is? So I would say, yeah, just spend some time exploring yourself, and yeah, maybe think about what fulfillment means to you, and yeah, just start there.
Yeah, it's exactly what I have in my head, actually, you know, to be clear on who you are and to understand your values, because these are the ones who give us the direction on
Yeah.
what path we want to live. And I
Yeah.
really like your example with being, you know, with the freedom, but your schedule is, you know, everything is scheduled, and someone else controls your life, you know. Where people can find out more about you.
So you can find me on Facebook, just under my name. You can go to my website, which is also my name and my surname. So it's www.monikakozlowska.com. And yeah, you can also find me on Instagram. If you were interested to chat, you can, through my website, you can book yourself a discovery call, which is free. So yeah, so we can connect by that. I'm pretty much everywhere, so I'm sure it's not that hard to find me.
Nice. I will put all these links in the description below, so people will. It will be easier for people to find out more about you.
Brilliant.
Is there anything that that we missed, that we should have talked about but we didn't?
No, I think it was great, and thank you for that. I think we covered the importance of exploring, kind of just taking action towards creating this fulfilled life, and I think it's important to know. So yes, and I think the one thing is to remember is that the time is now, because we, forever isn't guaranteed, and I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Monika, for being here with us and telling all this, your insights, your learnings, and everything.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
I hope you all enjoyed this interview, and yeah, take care.